Fox News contributor, syndicated columnist, the one and only Charles Krauthammer. Charles, good to see you, and Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Pleasure to be here. You too.
All right, this is devastating. Media, they buried this on page 11 in today's edition, A11 in the Washington Post. Seems to me that it deserves far better attention and would be gathering more attention if this were a Republican president. Your thoughts?
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, that's, as you know, if the sun rises in the east, you know, if any of this had occurred on the previous president's watch, it would have been all over the place. Although I have to say the New York Times had it on the front page because it's a little bit hard to ignore. They should really have to be pretty extreme to put it on page 11. But as you say, it's very scathing, but there's something about this. It's scathing, but it's non-specific. It basically spreads around the blame without naming names. So we get these deputy assistant secretaries who resign. But the questions we still don't know, and we won't know until we hear testimony from the Secretary of State, is what did she know? When did she know it? Where was she on the day? What was she doing on that day? And did she give any orders? And that also applies to the president. We don't know what he was doing in the 7-8 hours of that terrible day. We don't know what he said, what he ordered, what they countermanded. And that, I think, are the questions that still need to be asked. We do know, as a result of the report, as we knew before, there were huge errors of judgment, denying security, denying the kind of protection the ambassador and others were begging for. And the larger issue, Sean, of misunderstanding the nature of what was happening in North Africa with the growth of al-Qaeda and pretending to the electorate, with the election approaching, that al-Qaeda was on its knees.
I think those are all great questions and observations. Let me, if I can, add two more to them, because I think it's really important. The report was also clear. There were no protests, none that day, as we had been told, not only by Susan Rice, but by the president himself at the UN 2 weeks later, and that it had nothing to do with this YouTube video. That's disturbing heading into a presidential election. It tells me we were consciously lied to.
Well, we certainly know we were misled. I remember the president in the second debate taking umbrage at the suggestion that anybody in his administration, including, he said, the UN ambassador, would have misled the nation on what happened. Now, it's unequivocally, metaphysically true that she misled the nation. The only question is, was it a deliberate misleading, in which case it's lying and deception, or was it inadvertent? Was she unaware, in which case it's, you know, supreme incompetence? And I don't think we still know the answer to that, because we know that the so-called talking points from the intelligence community were altered. We still don't know by whom. And it is clear that the FBI knew on the Friday before Susan Rice appeared, by interviewing the people in Benghazi who had survived the attack, that there had been no demonstration. That was known, and yet she kept insisting over and over again that all this came out of a demonstration.
Charles, maybe I'm more cynical than you.
I think you probably are, although, I mean, no, I could give you a run for your money on some things.
No, you can. But Charlie Lamb did testify, and you have to wonder if there might be some retribution here in her case. She did say that the State Department was watching this in real time. That's problematic for them. And we also know, as we look at the different timelines that have been released, Charles, is that Leon Panetta and many of leaders in our military within hours were meeting with the president in the Oval Office about this, and there was information that was coming in. So I'm less inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt here. The evidence seems incontrovertible to me. Am I wrong?
Well, it seems to me that what they succeeded in doing is to exploit the fact that the media were not interested and wanted to protect the administration, particularly before Election Day, by saying, you know, we have investigations going on, so we can't speak about this. But it isn't as if the Secretary of State needed an inquiry to tell the nation what she knew on that day, what she did, or that the president needed an inquiry in order for him to say, which he still has not said, where he was, what he was doing, and what he ordered to try to protect our brave men and women in Benghazi on that fateful day.
Charles, you had a good line. Hillary has severe Benghazi allergy.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work on that, investigating it. She is the first reported the case, and it's a very, very severe one.
Very, very severe. Let's see the medical report on that. Anyway, Charles, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thanks for being with us.
You too.